Welcome to the DNA Advantage podcast, where you can learn facts about your DNA that can help you live a healthier, longer life, doing all the activities you dream of doing. If you want to gain more control over your health and the factors that influence it, you're in the right place. Hi there. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, I'm going to be talking about the easiest way to make healthy decisions when it gets difficult. I think now is a good time to talk about this because the holidays typically challenge our healthy decisions. And I don't want to see people going into the new year feeling like you're behind the eight ball, like you've got so many things working against you because you weren't feeling confident about your healthy decisions throughout the holidays. Honor yourself and know that it is very common for everyone to struggle with this. There's no shame, no blame about it. It is really about figuring out what works best for you and making the commitment that is going to get you to your best level. Also, we can falter. And it just means that next chance we get, that next choice that we have to make, we make a better decision. It isn't something that we delay or put off and say that we have to wait until after the holidays because there are just too many temptations during the holidays, or we have too many events to go to. We don't want to give ourselves excuses and procrastinate what's really, truly important to us. Always remember your first priority is to take care of yourself because you don't want to deal with illness. You don't want to deal with symptoms that your body is struggling to tell you that something is wrong. The first thing I would like to talk about is the opportunity to do 80-20. And the reason I start with that is because I want you to realize how easy it is to make those changes, and it's not an all or nothing concept. When you look at your day and you appreciate that 80% of the time you're eating healthy and you can have 20% room for error, it gives a little bit less pressure and it gives you more opportunity to feel good about your decisions and feel good about your day, and know that simply because you're going to a party or you're having an office lunch that you are defeated. Knowing that you're going to a party, then the rest of the day you are really honoring your healthiest decisions. For those of you who know me, you know it's all about personalization. So what's healthy for one person may not be the most ideal for another. It is really important for you to recognize what is working best for you and always evolve that. Look at what's changing. It might be changing a little bit based on the season. It may be changing a little bit based on your stress level. You may need more fruits and vegetables because you need more antioxidants when you're really stressed. And certainly giving yourself enough sleep and giving yourself enough recovery time after gatherings. Social events can be taxing, and certainly after you've had a few drinks or you've eaten a little heavier food. The next point of leverage is to plan ahead. And when you know what your body needs and you know what your schedule is in advance, you can plan and really gauge what it is that you need to keep you on track. And we will talk in more detail about the opportunities that come up to plan ahead. But being able to cook some healthy dishes on the weekends that you can have for lunches or for quick dinners because you're out and about, or it might even be recognizing that you need to go out to dinner and the healthy choices at that particular restaurant might be limited. Therefore, you've got something that you've planned ahead to eat before you go so that you just order a healthy appetizer or you eat less of something that's unhealthy, rather than feeling like you're so hungry, you have to eat all of it and ultimately undo what healthy steps you would normally take if you weren't so hungry. The other advantage that you can give yourself is to set non negotiables. It might be that you're not drinking at this particular party, or that you are only having one drink and then shift to water or to another non alcoholic choice. Or it could be that you're only going to have one plate of hors d'oeuvres. But it really is important to recognize when we set those boundaries for ourselves, we need to realize why we're doing it. We have to really appreciate what these boundaries do for us and give us in the long term. And that is another point that I'd like to make. When you think long term, you're looking at not the instant gratification of eating all of the chocolate on the platter. We want to appreciate that even the next day, you're going to feel better about yourself, but also health wise, you're going to feel better if you haven't overindulged in a lot of sugar and sweets. And for the longer term, let's say that going into the new year, you haven't gained weight after all of the parties that you've attended, or you haven't felt like you are inflamed because you didn't eat the things that really bother your system, additional sugar, gluten, dairy, whatever it is for you. It's important for you to honor what your limits are. And when you think long term and you can appreciate what you're giving your body more consistency. During the holidays, it is more difficult because other people are preparing food for us, and we might be given more treats and more candy and things that we wouldn't normally have to fend off. We wouldn't normally have to opt out of because it's just not something that we would buy for ourselves. We really want to recognize the long term and pause before we act. Instead of just jumping into a party and eating whatever's there, when you have a plan and you're thinking long term, you don't feel like you're punishing yourself or that you're missing out. A lot of times I have felt like I am protected because I'm gluten free, and I'm protected from the things that I would normally years ago be really tempted to have. And those items weren't good for me. Even when I thought I could eat gluten, I always felt bad because they were a lot of carbs and a lot of sugar. And it just seems to be my rescuer at times. Another thing I would say is substitutions are really valuable. When you recognize that you have a weakness, understanding what is a reasonable substitution for you and what satisfies you is really, really helpful. As an example, during the holidays, when everyone else is eating sweets and they're just cookies everywhere and lots of different desserts, I like to make things that are still sweet, but less damaging to my system. And again, everyone is different. So no judgment. It's just a matter of you identifying what is best for you. And I'll make candied cranberries, which still have some sugar, but it's very little comparatively. So we'll recap. We want to make sure that we're really dedicated to the 80-20 rule, and that 80% of the time we are eating healthy and making really good decisions. And if we happen to falter, it's only 20% of the time. If we feel like we aren't really rigid in that number, what we want to be able to do is some documentation of our diet and what we're doing on a daily basis, and making sure that we are making good choices the majority of the time. Then we want to set non negotiables. We want to make sure that we know what it is that our body needs and what it is that is too much for us. What is the tipping point? And non negotiables, whether it's drinking or sugar or carbs or dairy, making sure that you give yourself the parameters to say, I'm committing to myself that I am not going to step over these boundaries, and then stick with that. Planning ahead, making sure that if you're going to a party, you aren't going there starving, where you know if you only have options that are unhealthy, you don't have to overindulge. You can have one or two items and feel satisfied rather than going there hungry. Making sure that you have substitutions is the next one. We want to make sure your substitutions at home and on the road. You could have some substitutions in your car that you keep, especially if you're in a cooler climate. You can just keep them in your car for a week or two. And if they keep well in general, they should be fine. In fact, in our area, they're going to be frozen. So they'll keep fine unless it's not freezer worthy. But when you think about being able to have substitutions and a plan, and you feel confident that you're able to stick to your guns and actually have a commitment to your health, it is so empowering and gratifying. It's important to recognize that we're not punishing ourselves through the holidays. When we pause before we make that choice and we think about the long term, we think about how that's going to affect us, it can be very, very valuable and give us that long term success that we're seeking. When we're looking at those choices, we need to recognize during the holidays, when we eat a lot of sugar, we are more susceptible to getting sick because that can draw down our immune function. The stress of the holidays can also affect our health and our immune function. So we need to make sure that we're getting enough sleep. We are giving ourselves ample time to recover from social events and work schedules and things like that. We also want to make sure that we aren't overindulging with alcohol because that can also lower our immune function. And you don't want to end up sick on the holiday where we're leading up to and feeling like we are fulfilling all of these obligations through the holiday season and just having fun. I hear people all the time say, well, I'm just going to go to this party and have fun and do whatever I want to do, and then I'll just figure it out later. Ultimately, your body can only take so much, and we don't always know what that tipping point is ahead of time. We don't want to tip the scales to the point where we are then sick on Christmas or on our family get together for Hanukkah or whatever the event is. We want to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves every day and giving ourselves ample time to recover from the things that we are experiencing. Now, this applies to all seasons, but I think the holidays are particularly challenging for our decision making for healthy choices. And we don't want to insult anybody when it comes to their food or when it comes to their desserts. And when they say, I would love for you to try this, if you're gluten free and it's gluten, it's easy. It's an easy choice. You just say, I'm sorry, I can't have it because it contains gluten. But when it comes to trying something and you're sensitive, the other option that you have is to eat one bite or two bites and have an enzyme in hand, or you have the opportunity to take something either right before or right after. And enzymes can be really helpful if you have a little bit of a sensitivity to dairy, or you have overindulged and you know that you need help digesting your food in general. Taking digestive enzymes can be very helpful and can help reduce inflammation when it's a proteolytic enzyme. I know there are moments where we do overindulge. I'm certainly not above that myself. And so we want to know what we can do to support our bodies before, during, and after events like that. And if we have overindulged, make sure you drink enough water, make sure you sleep well, and give yourself ample time to recover. And then give the nutrients the next day that you know your body needs. If you ate a lot of junk the day before, don't go to the guilt, go to the solution. Your body is constantly using the nutrients that we give it. So you're renewing the system with healthier foods the next day. If you can eat fruits and vegetables and salads, it's not necessarily balancing what you had the day before or negating it, but it is giving your body the resources that it needs and the support that you really benefit from. It's exciting to know that you have control and that you have opportunities every time you make a choice for your meals and for the parties that you go to and the activity level that we have. I've never been one to believe that you can eat whatever you want if you run, or you can eat whatever you want if you work out, because ultimately your body needs to have a certain level of nutrition. And if you eat only junk food and it's devoid of nutrition, then running isn't doing anything except for reducing your calorie overage. It is not compensating for any deficiency. Even my example of the sugared cranberries, you're getting the value of the antioxidants while you have a tiny bit of sugar. So it's not like you're just eating a bunch of sugar with carbs in a cookie. We want to make sure that we are giving ourselves that renewal every time and that we're getting value in our food and that we are working out and giving our body some movement and exercise, and we get fresh air and sleep and fresh water. It's a beautiful thing when we feel like we are actually receiving what we need and we start to feel more balanced and more invigorated. And during the holidays, that is going to keep us happy and healthy. So I hope this was helpful for you. And as always, if you have questions, contact me. And I look forward to talking to you the next time. Thanks so much for joining me to learn about DNA health. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. If you'd like to join my free community where we delve into more details about DNA, just click Community below.